All right, good evening. I'd like to welcome everyone to the July 24th meeting of the Coventry Planning Commission. At this time, I'll call the meeting to order and determine if there's a quorum present. I'll just take the roll from the end, please. Mr. Mattson? Here. Mr. Ozenkowski? Here. Mr. Anderson? Here. Ms. Lukowitz?
Here.
Mr. Porcelli? Here. And I'm here. Mr. Kalunian. Absent are Ron Flynn and Jim Kenny. Okay, first item, Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. For everyone that's gathered, I just want to point out, in the unlikely event of an emergency, the exit doors are to the rear of the building. If for some reason those doors are blocked, you can get out through the back behind this podium, and then there's an exit out through the town offices. Before I move on to approval of the minutes, I just want to make an announcement that the public informational meeting for the Willow Lakes Independent Living. I don't know if anyone's here because they got a notice. That's the one that's on New London Turnpike. Anybody here for that? That meeting is going to be postponed. They continued. They asked for a continuance today. Primarily because of the absence of some of our members. They need 5 affirmative votes. This is not a majority vote, and they were concerned about going forward with their presentation with only six out of the 9 members present. So they've asked for a continuance. It's just going to take a second. We're going to see if we can get you a date, because it will not be re-advertised. The date that we give you tonight is going to be the date of the next meeting. I don't know what the board thinks. I know Chairman Flynn's not here. We did try to reach him today, but we're thinking the first Wednesday in September, September 4th. I didn't want to hold anyone to another summer. We've got a couple of site walks to schedule. Is everybody available on Wednesday, September 4th? No, it's the Wednesday right after Labor Day.
So you're going to have a special meeting, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, we could either do that or the 11th. It doesn't matter. I'm open to any Wednesday between now and. Anybody have it? Everyone, the 11th better? I'm sorry?
I prefer the 4th.
Okay. Okay, it's the 4th after Labor Day. It's the first week after school gets going. I think people will be back from vacation. So why don't we tentatively say it's going to be September 4th? You can check the agenda. If you're not sure, you can also call the planning office, but the agendas are posted online. But it will not. You won't get another mailing. You'll have to watch the town website for the planning board meetings. Yes.
If I may, I just think you need to be clear. It will be September 4th. That will cover the notice issues.
Okay, it will be September 4th.
Rick?
Yes.
So can we just ask Russ, I guess, are we going to have other projects scheduled for that night? Because I know the email, you were hoping maybe we could fit a few things in on a special meeting.
I will give the board as much as they would like to see that night. I'm sure there's other things we could add on.
Okay, all right.
Yep, sounds good. Okay, so it'll be September 4th. I just didn't want to keep you here to the end of the agenda and have you find out you came for nothing. All right? So that was number 6.6. That's all for tonight. Okay, now that we're dispensed with that, first item on the agenda is approval of minutes. First one, 3.1, June 26th, 2019 meeting. Minutes are
Motion
in
to
the packet.
approve. Second.
Okay, I have a motion to approve by Mr. Mattson, a second by Mr. Ozenkowski. Discussion? I have discussion. I just want to clarify for the record. I did read the next item on the agenda, which is the ratification decisions, but we get into the Finnegan family compound. There was some discussion on utilities. And I believe when we made the motion, I'm just going to go right there. just looking at this regarding the utilities, if I'm not mistaken. I should have highlighted it when I read it today. Underground utilities to be done as discussed. It was agreed that utilities will be brought down to the bend at the beginning of Lot 10. So it's not really clear. My understanding was they were going to run poles and overhead wires down to the bend, and then when it opened up and all the lots were shown, they'll be underground in front of all the houses. Is that everyone else's take?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to, maybe we could clarify that in the minutes.
Yes, was that the way, did you read the ratification? Was the ratification written that way?
I'll have to check that. The ratification says,
It gives a distance in the ratification.
hold
I'm
on.
not sure where the measurements.
Well, where is it
It's
now?
under 3 in the
Number 3?
ratification,
Okay, yeah. The applicant shall be allowed to utilize above-ground electric cable utility poles for the initial 1,500 feet of roadway required to utilize underground electric for the remaining 800 feet. Okay,
That
so
took it
that's
to the
correct.
bend that you described, but I just didn't
Yeah.
want to say the
All
bend.
right.
That's why I gave him the linear feet.
Better, the distance.
That's
Like,
correct. So I
Okay.
would like to have that stipulation in place of the way it was worded in the stipulations, if that's possible, because I think that's what we talked about. Without objection, of course. And anyone else have anything? Or do you think it's sufficient the way it is? Doesn't matter to me. I just wanted to get it out there, because when I read it today, it wasn't clear. But it is clear in the ratification.
Yeah, so when we vote to ratify this, we'll be voting, we can, I would assume, vote to ratify as described in the report, right? And that would cover the distance
Yeah.
and any discrepancy.
The ratification reads just the way we discussed it. It's just the minutes I thought were a little ambiguous, but now that I'm seeing it again, I don't see a problem. When I read the minutes first, I didn't think it was clear.
All right, yeah, okay. I think the ratification's fine.
Okay, so you want to just leave the minutes the way they were then? Doesn't matter. Okay. All right. Yes, sir.
Yes, Mr. Chair, just one clarification. On this ratification, it says people voted yay as opposed to the aye, which is in the minutes. Does that really matter?
Yay, we're excited.
No. Okay, so at this point then, I will call a vote to approve the minutes as written. All in favor? Any opposed? None. All right, minutes passed. Next item is approval of the minutes from the July 17th site walks. We had 2 site walks. Do I have a motion to approve?
I second.
I have a motion to approve by Mr. Porcelli, a second by Ms. Lukowitz. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. Next item on the agenda is ratification of decisions. The first one's 4.1, the Parenteau Solar Project. Kyle and Michaela Parenteau, final decision for a minor land development for a medium solar project. AP 316, lot 157, Assessors Plat 322, lot 001.005 in the RR5 zone, 849 Victory Highway. We have the decision included in our packet. I will entertain a motion to ratify the decision.
I'll make a motion to ratify the decision for final plan for the Parenteau Solar Project.
Do I have a second? We have a second. Any discussion? I have discussion. We've had this discussion before, so we all voted, I'm sorry, the majority voted to favorable. We got 5 votes in the affirmative and 3 nay votes, and now because we don't have some of the yay votes here, I sense that we're gonna have a problem passing this.
Well, if the, and you could certainly get a sense from the board if there's reluctance to ratify the decision, but even those who voted against the decision can vote to ratify so long as the decision itself comports with what the board's decision was on that evening. If, however, individuals feel that they voted against the decision and are also disinclined to vote for the ratification, then I think you have to put it off until you have more members here. But that's up to the it's up to the board, commission members.
Mr.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, I voted against it, but it's, from my perspective, the ratification is basically just capturing the discussion and the process in the vote. So, I mean, I'm going to vote in favor of the ratification, even though I didn't agree with the project, because I think the ratification accurately captures the event and the decision.
I agree.
Okay, in that case, I will, let me just ask one question to the solicitor. If we were to vote and this does not pass tonight, could we put back on in the next meeting irregardless?
Yeah, I think so. We would do that simply because, again, this is a ratification.
Okay.
I think committee member Ozakowski has accurately framed the issue.
Okay, thank you. All right, and if that's the case, then I will take a roll call vote if there's no more discussion. Okay, hearing none. Mr. Porcelli? Yes. Mr. Mattson?
Yes.
Mr. Ozakowski?
Aye.
Mr. Anderson?
Aye.
Ms. Lukowitz?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. So it passes, ratification passes 6-0. Next item, ratification. I'm gonna make sure I got my paperwork here. Ratification of the decision of the preliminary plan for the Finnegan Family Compound, Whaley Hollow Road, Assessors Plat 311, Lot 4, 1.006 in the RR3 zone. Do I have a motion to ratify the decision?
Motion to ratify.
I have a motion by Mr. Mattson. Do I have a second? I have a second by Mr. Anderson. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 6-0. Okay, next item. Okay, we have a public informational meeting scheduled. That's the next item of business. In the interest of time, and I hope you all just pass, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 items that I think comportedly will move very quickly, and I don't want to keep people here unnecessarily, so I would like to entertain a motion to move items 6.1, 6.2, 6.3, 6.4, and 6.5 up on the agenda prior to the public hearing.
Motion to move.
Do I have a second? I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, first, item 6.1, Cedar Creek. Cedar Creek Phase 2, is there anyone here for the applicant? Good evening, Mr. Cronin.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Thomas Cronin, 1070 Main Street, Coventry, Island, for the applicant. Mr. Chairman, this preliminary plan was approved in, approved in May of 2017, recorded in August of 2017. We were back before you to post a bond for the road. The road construction has been started. It's not yet completed. We have not reached the final on this, and we're asking for the statutory one-year extension through August 2020 on the preliminary plan approval.
Could I get a motion to extend the applicant by 1 year, the approval by 1 year to August 2nd, 2020?
Motion to extend for 1 year.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Aye. That passes.
Thank the board.
Next item, I have 2 recommendations to the zoning board tonight. They're the following 2 items, and just for those present and to remind the board, we are not the approval for the zoning board, but the recommendations can be made in favor. Favorable recommendation, unfavorable recommendation, or no recommendation. It does not have a bearing necessarily on the zoning board's approval one way or the other. The first item is special use permit, the Tate Tree, Elizabeth and Joshua Tate Tree, 50 Indian Trail. Is there anyone here for the applicant? Anybody here, 50 Indian Trail? special use permit? Okay, motion to table?
Motion to table.
I second.
We got a, I'm sorry, motion to table by Mr. Mattson, second by Ms. Lukowitz. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, that passes six. Next item, special use permit, the Matthew Garage, Matthew Gudis, 57 Isle of Capri Road. Anyone here for the applicant? Good evening, sir.
Hello,
For the record, name and address, please, for the,
Matthew Gudis, 57 Isle of Capri Road, Coventry, Rhode Island.
okay, so you have an applicant. You want to tell us a little bit about what you're trying to do over there? Just-
Yeah, currently the garage was built in 1945, and there's been many additions onto it. And there's a knee wall going through the middle of the garage currently. So I
Can you
went,
turn on your mic?
Yeah, we can't hear you. If it's on, you just got to move it up and talk loud. Yeah, I think it was on.
yeah, it was on, okay.
Okay, thank
So there's a knee wall currently going right through the middle of the garage, so I'm not able to use it as a garage per se. And on top of that, the structure is old, it's been through the flood, and it's pretty much ready to fall down. So I'd like to put a new foundation in and expand it by about 10 feet.
Okay, yeah, we have some photographs in our packet, so I'll just kind of maybe help you along. It looks like there was some work done to the dwelling itself back in maybe 2012 or so.
Correct.
And was that addition to the side of the building where the door is that the main door in, on the right side of the building as you head down the driveway? Was that added in 2012?
That was the original
That's
design.
the original footprint of the building?
Yeah, I put a second story on the house.
Okay. And then, now the garage right now looks like it's located right in front of that. Are you saying the knee wall is parallel to the road or parallel to the driveway? Like,
Parallel to the driveway,
right, but you can't use it as a garage, why?
because the knee wall is, right inside there.
So you can use the garage bay, but
Yeah.
not the other side?
Correct.
So what are you trying to do, two-car garage?
Yes,
And I noticed, so what you say, the garage now is gonna basically mirror the footprint of the house? It'll be out just as close?
correct.
Yeah, and will there be a walkway down the side to get to that door that sticks out, or you're gonna
Correct.
just be
Yep.
down the 8-foot, 10-foot path that's left?
Yes, there'd be a walkway.
And the only other odd thing that I observed, it looked like in your application packet, and again, I'm just drawing this out because you didn't explain it in the presentation, I wanna make sure all the board members realize. The graphic we have indicates the height of the garage would be 27 feet?
Yes.
Is that big enough for what's going up above the garage?
It's going to be an A-frame, so there's no room for any rooms or anything like that. Is that what you're?
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out why the other garage is probably, looks like it's about maybe 13 feet high,
Yeah. Yes.
and this one's going to 27, so it's basically double the height.
Yeah, I figured I might as well match the roof line to, just for aesthetics, I guess.
Yeah, I can't quite grasp it from the picture. Okay, with 2x6 construction and engineered trusses.
Correct.
Does anyone on the board have any questions about this? This is Isle of Capri. Anybody?
So is the intent to double, it looks like, you still want to use this as a garage, this isn't going to become somehow attached or a living space?
No, it's not going to be, just a garage.
And did all these pictures that we got today on the table go with this application?
No, just the ones for Capri. The other ones were for Indian Trail.
And that garage is currently detached from the structure behind it?
The roof line is all attached to the, but you can't walk through the house into the garage, correct?
Oh, so right now it's attached?
Yes.
Is
Well,
the new garage going to be attached?
I'm not following you on that one. There's currently, and And in my plans, there's no way to walk through the house into the garage.
But is it physically up against it?
Yes.
You can't.
The roof line is attached to the house, correct?
Okay. So once this is built, you could modify in the future to get access above the garage if you needed to have a bonus room or something up there?
No, because of my heating system runs, if you can see the 12 pitch on the house.
Yeah, I'm not a builder per se, so.
Okay, but yeah, I have a whole heating duct system going along the 12 pitch. So to put a room up there, you know, you'd have to cut the whole heating system and redesign the whole house. I'm mainly looking to store a boat in there that's 9 feet tall. So I'll be putting in a 10-foot garage door. And obviously the walls would be 10 foot high. And then instead of coming about 5 feet short of the roof line, I figured I would just you know, match the roof line to aesthetically, just for aesthetics.
Okay, so in other words, the main reason for the garage is so you can put your boat in there.
Correct.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions, concerns, discussion? Hearing none. Do I have a motion one way or the other?
I'll make a favorable recommendation to the zoning board for the issuance of a special use permit and provide dimensional variances as proposed.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? I'll say
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Thank you
Good luck
both.
with the zoning board. Next item. Pre-application, scheduled site walk, Station Street Subdivision, S&S LLC, proposed 4-lot subdivision with one existing house and street creation, assessors plat 69, lot 32, in the R20 zone at 291 Station Street. Good evening, Mr. Cronin again.
You even have to lower the mic.
Okay.
The,
Okay.
yeah, so we're here for pre-application to set a date for site walk, 291 Station Street, 3.8 acre lot, zoned R20. The proposal is a 4-lot conforming minor subdivision. The house that is presently on the lot will remain and be put into one of the lots. The 3 new lots will be created. There's proposed to be a short 220-foot cul-de-sac installed, and the other lots will be fronted on that. 2 lots will have Kent County water. 2 larger lots will have private wells. All lots will have the OWTS. The surrounding property is all residential, and we'll need multiple permits here from Kent County Water, Rhode Island DEM, and Central Coventry Fire. There is a drainage area shown on the plan, which is in the southwest corner of the property, be used to retain the drainage on site. So it's a conforming subdivision. We're not requesting any variances or anything like that, and we'll keep the house that's there in its present position and design the lots around it.
If I don't hear any questions for media concern, could we schedule a site walk? Anybody have any dates? What are we gonna do, Sandy?
How about August 14th? Is that too far out?
Is that a Wednesday or Tuesday? You wanna do Tuesday with a rain date on Wednesday, or you wanna do Wednesday with a rain date on Thursday?
Wednesday with a rain date on Thursday, so it would be the 14th at 6 o'clock.
August 14th, 6 o'clock?
Yep, rain date 15th at 6.
Okay
Thank you.
with that?
Yes,
Got it, okay.
thank you.
Thank you. Next item. Pre-application site walk 445 Fairview Avenue, B. Wayne Realty LLC, comprehensive permit for proposed 10 residential unit, including 3 deemed affordable. Assessors plat 63, lot 154, in the R20 zone, 445 Fairview. Anyone here for the applicant? Hello, sir. How are you? For the record.
Good evening. For the record, my name is Audie Osgood. I'm a professional engineer with DePrete Engineering in Cranston, Rhode Island. And here tonight on behalf of the applicant, Pizzuko Construction, for the project.
Right.
if the board would like, I can just take a minute and run through some
Yeah,
of
just
the basics.
real brief, and then we'll schedule the site walk, and then after that, we'll come back and we'll deal with the details. Okay, sure.
So we'll be looking for a comprehensive permit approval on this project, which is located at Assessor's Plat 63, Lot 154 in Coventry. Approximately 1.5 acre parcel. It's zoned R20. There's an existing building on the site now that has 9 dwelling units in it. We're proposing to build 2 new buildings with 5 units each, so 10 new units, and would be looking to designate 3 of those as affordable to meet the 25% criteria. Site is generally pretty consistent grade, sloping from Fairview Avenue as the high side to the west and northwest, where there's an existing isolated wetland. Stormwater would be provided on the lower side of the site next to the existing wetland. We'd also look at BMPs that would probably be underground dry wells and some surface ponds. Utilities would be provided by Kent County Water and Coventry Sewer Authority. We have adequate site distance on the Fairview Avenue. We would be looking at some zoning relief for the project, which is within the board's purview to grant during a comprehensive permit application. We'd be looking at a side setback be reduced from 20 feet to 12 feet. And the distance between buildings be reduced from 50 feet to approximately 12 feet as well. And although it's not called out on our plans, I think we would probably also be looking at a lot coverage relief as well. So something I just noticed preparing for the meeting this evening, so.
Okay, and how many units did you say were there before? I know we'll see this on the site.
9 existing?
And does that include that, there's like a house up front and the other units are attached? So is it
Yeah.
1 and then 8 behind? Is that how it is now?
My understanding, yes.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
And the existing, just for the record, the existing structure does encroach in the front and the side yards on the north and on the eastern corner of the site. We're not proposing to make any changes to it, so it's just an existing non-conformance that would remain.
You said it encroaches, or?
Yes, it's, the structure is partially within the existing setbacks.
Oh, within the setback, sure. So it's
Yes.
already not conforming. Okay. I just wanted to make sure it wasn't encroaching on the neighbor's property. Okay.
No.
So what we usually do is schedule our site walks back to back. So after we leave Station Street, which isn't too far, maybe we could get there for 6:30?
6:30 or 6:45?
Yeah, between 6:30 and 6:45 on the same, I'm sorry, what
On the
was it?
14th.
Wednesday, the 14th, and if it's raining that
Rain
night,
date on the 15th,
is that okay for
same
you?
times.
Works for you?
That was August 14th to 15th,
August.
right?
Yeah, yeah,
Perfect. Yes, I don't see why that should be a problem.
okay. So we'll see you then. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
All right, and then just, again, one more, just in case anyone walked in late. The master plan for comprehensive permit on New London Turnpike, if anyone came in late, that's been rescheduled for September 4th. So if anyone was here for that, you don't have to stay. That being said, next item on the agenda, we have a public informational meeting, master plan application, the Oaks at East Shore, Richard W. Boglin and others. And, let me see, proposed major land development, 33 lot subdivision, assessors plat 23, lots 47, 47.001, and assessors plat 32, lot 152 in the R20 zone, located off Tyoke Avenue. Put all this away. Yes, sir. Okay, Mr. Mattson needs to recuse himself of the project, I believe because of proximity, so you're gonna grab a form and, okay. Good evening.
Good evening, Joelle Rocha, attorney for the applicant and owner. We're here, as you know, on a 33 lot proposed subdivision on a site that comprises 3 different lots totaling approximately 26.5 acres. we have tonight, obviously this is master plan, this was before the board for pre-app in February. We got some comments at that time, adjusted the plans accordingly to what's in front of you tonight. We do have several waivers requested, which are pretty standard with respect to the right-of-way width, pavement portion, and the location of 2 cul-de-sacs without islands within the subdivision. As this board's well aware, this is kind of step 1 in the process of development. We'll need state approvals and to be here again at a very technical review for the project. That being said, our project engineer is here. I will leave you in his very capable hands, and then we can address any questions.
Okay, and it would be appropriate now to open the public hearing? Or do we let them do a presentation and then open it after?
I usually wait.
Until the
But
presentation
it's
by
up
the
to you.
applicant? No, that's fine. I was just wanted to make sure I wasn't remiss in letting it go on and then having to step back.
I do have one thing before you, I'm sorry, Mr. Chair. Did everybody bring their packets from last? Okay.
I wanted to make sure the same thing. Make sure you're looking at the plan that says revised 626. No.
And if you did, I have copies.
Yep. CHA.
These were the plans that were passed out at the meeting, not from the packet.
And we'll go through those changes in a minute.
Okay. Hi, Joe. How you doing?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, just for the record, my name is Joe Casali.
You might need to move your mic up.
I'm a registered professional engineer with offices at 300 Post Road in Warwick. If I may, quick PowerPoint presentation to go through the project. We've obviously seen you before at our pre-application meeting. The site walk, we've made some changes per the board's request. And we've also made some changes with this new iteration I'd like to go over based on some of the staff comments.
I just want to make sure, can those people in the back of the room hear him speaking, or does he need to make it? Good? Okay, thank you. Sure.
Thank you. So just where we are in terms of the town, we all know, obviously, Tioga Ave, Route 3, Old North Road, Rawlinson Drive, and that's East Shore Drive that passes right by the elementary school. In terms of our subject parcels, Mr. Chairman, there's actually 3 of them. The first one, Assessors Plat 32, Lot 152, is about 15 acres. We also have an adjoining lot, Assessors Plat 23, Lot 47, which is a little larger than 12 acres.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt. Yeah, we can't see either of the screens, so it's making it hard.
Thank you.
A little more.
A little more.
Yeah, that's good.
Good.
Thank you. And the last piece that just popped up, also Assessors Plat 23, Lot 47.001 per the tax assessor's map. Small piece, less than 1/10 of an acre, but obviously has the frontage on Tioga Lake. All 3 of the parcels, Mr. Chairman, are entirely in your R20 residential district. There are different site constraints with this piece. One being we have a cemetery that exists to the east, and we're very cognizant of any setbacks and not interfere with them. There's an existing dwelling on one of the pieces, specifically addressed as 244 Tioga Ave. And there's also a sewer line and a sewer easement that bifurcates that large piece, basically conveying sewer and effluent from the elementary school right through the parcel and then right through Mulhern Way to the east. There's also an existing right-of-way that services both Lot 46 and Lot 44 that I would like to talk about in a little bit more detail. But continuing on with some of the site constraints, there were no wetlands on the site per our wetlands biologist. And that's important because a portion of the site is within a natural heritage area. Now, the natural heritage area, as all of you may know, is either protected because there's a species or some type of rare plant or flower that's in it. Particularly in this natural heritage area, number 143, we have aquatic plants. And so not having any wetlands on the site would mean that none of these rare species would be able to exist, which is why we're very confident that the natural heritage area won't be a factor in our DEM permitting. Our proposal is to eliminate the interior property lines and ultimately have one large parcel that's going to be about 26.5 acres. When we look at your yield calculations, empirically, we actually are allowed 44 plus lots. We're proposing 33, which lays out nicely from a roadway and engineering standpoint. Those are the 33 lots. This was the original submission back in May 31st, and I'll go through some of the changes of the new plans that you have, specifically just addressing the right-of-way with lots 44 and 46. So the entire 33 lots is going to be serviced by a town roadway, about 3,100 linear feet. 3 waivers we're asking for. One is we would like to reduce the right-of-way from 60 feet to 50 feet, which is a request of about 10 feet. And we had discussed at the pre-application stage, it's our fear that if this right-of-way is 60 feet, you know, these houses are going to constantly go to the zoning board because we're creating very thin-shaped, very shallow lots. We're also asking for a waiver to request a roadway width from the 30 feet, that's the town standards, to 26, which is really in conformance with today's lead design and lead development, not creating impervious surfaces, especially roadway widths of 30 feet, which, as you know, is very wide from a municipal standpoint. And lastly, Mr. Chairman, we're respectfully requesting the waiver for not only having cul-de-sacs, but also that we don't want these cul-de-sacs to have interior islands. We understand that they're difficult to plow. I believe your DPW director is in agreement with this, but it is in your regulations, so formally we'd like to request that. Also, as you've asked for in terms of a walking path to the school. So we have this existing sewer easement. It would make sense that now everyone in this development would be able to not only walk either to the school through East Shore Drive, but there'd also be a dedicated walking path. We also want to have an open space lot, which is about a little bit less than a half acre, and you'll have a right-of-way that would allow everybody in the development and or in the nearby area to be able to pass and repass over the open space. So the main revisions in what you see before you is really in the revised right-of-way. So we have an existing town road, a town right-of-way per our Class 1 survey. So that's the existing town road. The deed and the survey also suggest that a right-of-way exists beyond that, which just came up in the purple. And so our proposal is we want to replat the town road. We want to replat it so it preserves the identical access that both of these lots have today, but it also allows us to service our roadfront lots. And that's the change, is we extended that roadway to the west. We increased that radius so that we were within the town right-of-way. And then ultimately, we would be able to put our roadway in, and these 2 gravel driveways, from what I can see in the field and what we can see from aerials, we want to preserve that geometry. So it's virtually the same access that the neighbors take today over the town road and town right-of-way, and then ultimately there's gravel driveways that connect the two lots, 44 and 46. So in terms of our master plan, we're still here before you for the 33 lots. We anticipate that there'll be about 1,600 square feet, a mix of 3 and 4 bedrooms. We did ask the sewer authority when we were before them, or the sewer commission, excuse me, for capacity for, I believe, 12 4 bedrooms and the rest 3. And if we need to change that, we need to reappear before the commission anyway. We would ask them at that time. So in terms of drainage, you can see that there's distinct patterns where the drainage flows. It's odd that it flows both easterly and westerly. So the high point here, that 280, all of that water flows into Tioga Lake, and the rest of this high point takes everything in an easterly direction. So ultimately, that water that flows overland site catches up to an existing drainage system in Tioga Ave, and most of it, if not all of it, makes its way to the Patuxent River, that south branch. So when we come up with our drainage design, we try to mimic existing conditions to the maximum extent practicable. And ultimately, we're going to take this whole section of the subdivision and route it through a stormwater management area, like we would this section through a stormwater management area. And then finally, that last piece through a third stormwater management area. So just like there are 3 watersheds existing, we want to have 3 watersheds proposed so that we can not only meet your standard of attenuation of peak runoff rates, we think that with some infiltration, we'll be able to do better and reduce volumes in some of the storms, specifically the smaller storm events. So in terms of sewer, Mr. Chairman, that existing gravity sewer easement, we're going to take advantage of that, passing right through the property. While there is a force main that's on Tioga Ave, we would like to tie all of the homes in via gravity and ultimately making its way through that sewer easement, which passes through Mulhern Drive and ultimately makes its way to the Westwater treatment plant. In terms of water, we have a 12-inch ductile iron main in Tioga. We also have an 8-inch main on East Shore Drive and an existing hydrant. We're going to loop this with exception to the cul-de-sac. And in speaking to the fire marshal, we believe that 6 hydrants proposed are sufficient. If a 7th is required, it'll be provided. So in terms of permitting, like we said, we were here back in February for our pre-application meeting. We did walk the site on a cold Saturday morning in March, and we're here before you tonight for our master plan hearing with those 3 waiver requests. We still have a long way to go. Should we receive our master plan approval, we would have to get both a groundwater discharge permit and a RIPTES permit from the Department of Environmental Management. We also need a physical alteration permit from DOT, back before the sewer authority, Kent County Water, the fire marshal, and then back before this board for preliminary and possibly final if it's not delegated to the administrative officer. I know that there were some staff comments, and I'd like to see if I can address them, Mr. Chairman, just before the public speaks. There was an element of, in terms of traffic and, would we be putting stress on the East Shore Drive neighborhood? And I think this picture, what we expect from a traffic standpoint is that all of our residents, I can't imagine why they would want to circulate here if they're getting down to 95 or 3 or 33 or 116 and 117. It is master plan. Our traffic study is not yet complete. We want to defer that to the preliminary plan review. But if there are some high-level discussions in terms of traffic, the aerial, I think, will look into a lot of the movements that we expect. Also, there was comment in staff about possibly interconnection of some of these different subdivisions. I believe there's a subdivision proposed on lot 26 that's going to have connections or one connection to Old North Road. And there was talk about a possible connection to our subdivision. I don't know that it's necessary or required. Again, I would assume we want all of our residents onto Tioga and not through this local subdivision. And the same with the residents here. I don't know why they would want to pass up and through, that they would not want to be on the main roads. But that is what I have, Mr. Chairman. I know that's a lot in one breath, but I would be happy to answer questions of you or members of the board.
Does anyone on the board have anything? I would prefer to, I think, open the public hearing, hear from the public first, unless someone needs to clarify something before we go in that direction. Anyone have anything they need clarified? Okay, with that, I would entertain a motion to open the public hearing. Motion to open the public hearing by Mr. Pacelli.
I second.
We had a second from Ms. Lukowitz. All in favor? Aye. Okay, the public hearing is open. Though anyone gathered here tonight is free to come up to the microphone. I just need to make sure that you state your name and address for the record. And if you can come back up again, if somebody decides they think of something later, you want to come back. But again, maybe in the interest of time, if you're going to say something exactly the same as your neighbor did, rather than to repeat it all, to just simply say, I share the same concerns or something to that effect, just so that we can move this along. That said, I will just wait till you're called on before you come up. If anyone wants to speak, raise your hand. Anybody? Yes, ma'am. Yes, you have to come to the microphone and put your name and address in for the record so the stenographer can take the notes. Hi, good evening.
Blanche Marchand, East Shore Drive, Coventry. Blanche Marchand, M-A-R-C-H-A-N-D. 201 East Shore Drive.
Yes, ma'am.
My main concern, and I think I picked up on, there may be some access from this new development that can access East Shore Drive. Is that correct?
The plan showed, if we could maybe just keep that up on the screen. Is there any way to do that? Yeah. The proposed road goes from Tioga Avenue, loops down, and it actually ends up on East Shore Drive at the school, behind the school.
Well, I don't know many people here, other than the people that live in that area of East Shore Drive and Ferris, know the congestion that we have now with just the people who come into the school and people that live with the additional houses that have been built recently. The parking is horrible. And even when I live on the corner of Ferris and East Shore Drive. And that's always congestion. There's always an issue of safety from all that parking. So my main concern is that we eliminate this project not have a lot of access to East Shore Drive because of what we're going through right now.
And that's parking at the school?
There's no parking at the school. There's parking on East Shore Drive on both sides on a constant basis.
Because of the school?
Yes.
So they draw the cars?
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to flush that out.
It's constant congestion.
Okay, thank you.
And that's a big concern of people that live in that area. There's only a few houses on that street, but people that live there, it is a basic concern. And Ferris Drive, I live on the corner,
Yeah,
which
I'm
is
sorry.
even more of a problem.
Can we get that up on the screen? Because our screen's. So I don't know where Ferris Drive is, that's the thing. Okay.
Marchand is talking about East Shore Drive.
Yes.
And the congestion from the school to East Shore Drive.
Right.
Yes, because there's a conjunction from the school parking lot and East Shore Drive. And people park on both sides because there is no access to the parking lot. It's only for teachers and buses. So that's a problem. My house faces the side of the Tioga School. That's where my house is, right on that corner.
And I believe that's the access, and it's chained when they're not in session.
Pardon?
There's a chain sometimes
That's at the other end of the school.
This entrance.
But on the corner of Ferris and at the corner of the stop sign. And the new houses, that's where all the congestion is. And like I said, I live on the corner, so my driveway is on Ferris. And sometimes they'll park on both sides, which is also causes a cluster and a lot of issues because you can't even see to get up the hill to take a left-hand turn. So it's a constant struggle with parking.
So that's because when the school's holding an event, they don't have enough parking
Not
on
just
their own.
events, on a daily basis, coming into school and especially picking up the
What do they
the
park there and wait
children.
for the children to come out, or they go
Yes,
to get them?
they're waiting on the street, and they're there for a good 20 minutes. And then with the events that they have, it's really congested. And there's only one way in and out.
And if you heard the applicant, he's going to be doing a traffic study to try to figure out what's going to happen when these folks are here. I mean, they have children that may be going to the school, so whether they're going to drop them down to utilize the walking path. But again, if they're going out to Tyoke Avenue, unless they're going down East Shore Road and then coming around and going back up East Shore Road to get to Tyoke Avenue, unless they're going to the school, they're going to have the.
That would make it
go
even
the same
worse.
way.
That would be
But
terrible.
the school, and the school can only hold so many people, but but thank you. We'll note that for the.
Thank you.
Anybody else wish to speak? Yes, ma'am. That's okay.
Laura Koch, I live at 249 East Shore Drive, Koch. 249 East Shore Drive. I'm that lot that's all the way in the back, where they're planning on making a different right-of-way, and I'm kind of concerned with that because I live over the, I've been going in and out of there all the time. Now, I'm trying to get confirmation now, are you gonna make it so that I have to go out towards Tiffany? Or am I gonna be able to still go back past the school?
So I believe this is your house?
Yes.
We are gonna preserve that existing. I believe that's your home right there?
Yes.
So we want to preserve that existing driveway. We're not scheduled to touch that at all. The only difference that you'll now be traveling over a paved, brand-new town road, and you'll have access
Either way?
to
Okay.
Rawlinson to Tyoke, or if you're going to go on the new roadway to Tyoke.
Okay, and my other question is I'm sorry. My other question is there really a need to put 33 houses? I mean, that's a lot. You're ripping down a lot of woods, you know what I mean? And it's, people walk their dogs and everything back there, and that's a major concern of mine. People enjoy walking through the woods and taking their dogs and things like that. I mean, I know it doesn't matter to some people, but to me it does.
Okay.
And I'm concerned about water runoff. That's another issue that I have because I do live down on the lake in the little corner over there. And the reason I just want to say, the reason I have an issue is because one of the houses that's right next to me had, before I moved in, had done something to the property, so the water already from that side runs into me.
Yeah.
So if I'm gonna get it from the hill, plus
Yeah.
my neighbor lives
Yeah.
here, she lives in the other house that's 46.
I think the engineer is going to elaborate a little more, but just so you know, they have to go to DEM and address how they're going to handle all the stormwater that's going to be created by those impervious surfaces, and they have to demonstrate that it can be retained on the property or flow where it already currently flows and gets caught up in the existing drainage he's going to go over right
Okay,
now.
so DEM will be involved in this because that's
Absolutely.
wetlands back there. I mean, especially where I live, and I'm very concerned about the
Okay.
animals and stuff back there.
Yeah, so that existing overland flow now just sheet flows right across until ultimately it makes its way. Under the proposed conditions, everything is going to be captured in the roadway and routed through this detention basin, so that by law, by both state law and your town code, we can't have an increase in stormwater runoff. We can say that emphatically because we will not get our DEM permit or our permit soil erosion from the community and be back for preliminary unless we prove that to not only the town, but DEM, and then in the case of the state road DOT.
Okay, now my other question is, because I have a well, that's why I'm concerned. And you can understand my concern with that.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you know if your well is drilled or just dug. Normally, we drill wells because we want to drill them deep enough so that they're below any surface pollutants. They go, my well is 500 feet deep because I happen to live in an area with ledge, but normally 250, 300 feet deep. That well will be so far down that it'll be drawing from a clean underground aquifer and not drawing from any surface drainage from tile or anything from, from the roadway.
Okay, because now there's a road, that's a private road that my neighbor owns, the lot 46, so she's here today too. That there's a private road that goes down towards my property, that's our right of way to go down further towards the lake. Now, are these people gonna have it right away to the lake too, somewhere? I mean, I'm concerned about that too, because a million people going by, they're gonna be walking on my property as well as hers, and that's another concern I have.
Yeah, so there should be no trespassing. They will have a deeded right-of-way. That will be pedestrian access only, and it will allow them.
What does that mean? I don't understand what that means.
That means it will not be any vehicles. It's not going to be paved.
It's a private way.
No, excuse me, if you want, when she's finished, we can go up, but I think what the applicant is trying to explain is on his property, no one else's property, not part of the right-of-way, they're dedicating separate access with their frontage that they have on the pond. But and you might have to tilt the screen a little. I'm sorry? Yeah, yeah.
No,
just
they do,
hang on.
I know where they're talking
Yeah,
about.
yeah, okay.
I'm
All
sorry, I gotta put it up.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I know where you're talking about, that's right where the easement ends right now, is where that is, I think that's what you're talking about, right?
This is the half-acre open space lot where you will have only pedestrian access, so people that will be able to walk or bike, but they won't be able to take a car or truck. And then there's, that's about 0.48 acres or about a half acre, 20,000 square feet. And then this is that lot 47.001, which does have the access. And we wanted to preserve that access. Right now, it's private and the public is not allowed to access the pond. Under this scenario, you'd be preserving the rights of not only the 33 new lots, but anyone else that's within walking.
But are you gonna be building docks and stuff like that out there for people to be bringing boats and the whole 9 yards?
There's no schedule for docks. There's very little room. There would be, the homeowners association is not going to enter into a dock like you see in some of these
And I have one last question. Now, if you're gonna be putting in sewers, does that mean I'm gonna have to pay to be hooked up to those sewers? Because I don't have sewers right now. I just have,
I don't know that the town's gonna mandate you to pay. The DEM, when you upgrade your septic system and they know that you have a sewer line within 200 feet of your property line, they certainly will ask you to tie into that sewer line rather than having a septic system that if it fails, is going to affect Tioga Lake and all of the ecosystem in there. So, I don't think it's something, doesn't need to happen today. I don't believe the town is going to enforce that, but ultimately someday the DEM will ask you to tie in and not have a cesspool or a septic system so close to a water resource.
right, but I don't wanna be forced to have to do it because this project is going in, and I'm just very upset with 33 houses in the whole thing. I just wanted to say my piece with that. Thank you very much.
Yep. Sir, did you have something to say? Yep.
Good evening. John Turog, TWOROG, 232 Tioga Avenue. Thank you. Yeah, my first question is, I'm the neighbor that's like right next to this project, 232. And they've been doing surveying for, I don't know, like 6 months. And I guess they're finished. I mean, they incorporated the results of their survey into this map. but they didn't put up any markers or any kind of indication of where the property line is. So I have no idea what they're claiming as their land. So that's what the first concern I have is I'd like to get some kind of information. First of all, for them to put up markers to show the division between my land and their land. And I also want to, see how they got, I have to first see it to see if I agree with it. And then if I have a problem or just, for my information, I'd like to see the maps and everything that they use, because there's been a lot of surveys done over there over the years, like for the school, Tyoke Avenue School, and other things. So I just, not sure, that they have it right, and I'd like to get some more information on that.
Mr. Chairman, part of the package is a Class 1 property line survey. It's public information. Be happy to provide it. It's in also per law, Rhode Island law, for that survey to be classified as a Class 1, the monumentation is going to need to be there. So I'm not sure if the monumentation had been put in. Mr. Talwag says it's not, but those corners will be marked.
And that's just to kind of clarify, when you say the corn, it's just a perimeter survey at this point?
Yeah, so I believe this is his home? No, the property, the huge lot. Okay.
So he's looking at the long line that goes from Tyoke all the way down to the back of the subdivision.
Yeah, there's nothing that shows where it's been, no kind of markers there. So I'm sorry, he doesn't have a microphone. Did he say they're gonna put some markers in?
They are going to be required to put monumentation in at least at the corners of that initially. And then I think as the lots get laid out, the town requires them to put monumentation. But at this stage, what they would make available to you is the survey data that they've collected, and the monumentation is in the field. And I'm not sure from that information, you would then have to consult your own surveyor or professional. I don't believe they're required to mark the line all the way down so that you can see where it is.
No?
They'll know where it is when they're putting their houses in.
Yeah, but that's their version,
Is that?
I mean, our version is not it's a professional opinion from a registered land surveyor to a Class 1 standard. I haven't seen anything disputing this. He would like to review it and see if he agrees with it.
Yeah. And you'd make those plans available to him, their public record?
I'd be happy to.
Yeah. And I would assume.
Send me an email and I'll return the Class 1 survey.
And I would also assume, sir, that the town recently did the development over there, or what's that, Mulhern Drive? What's that one? Yeah, so there may be even some monumentation in the field, and it may actually.
I'm sorry, I'm not.
There may be some monumentation in the field or notes on the plan that this gentleman does for them that references some of the existing survey data that was used for them to establish, which your survey would also have access to.
Yeah, just looking at it, you can't really tell the scale on these maps, but it looks like the line starting on Tyoke Avenue is should be closer to, my property should be closer to their property. It's I don't think the line is drawn correctly.
Well, I'm not in a position to dispute that at this point.
Well, see, the thing is, it seemed to me like that's the first step, in the sense that where all these houses are going to be sited and whether or not they have proper frontage and everything depends on where the property line actually is.
Well, it does, but they're here at master plan. This is just a major overview. They've still got to come back for preliminary approval in the future, and as things develop and they go through their permitting process, the plans will become more and more detailed. But at this point, they're just doing a perimeter survey, putting it into a computer and calculating on what they can fit on their 26 acre parcel.
Okay, I don't want to sound like overly demanding, but could they at least put one marker up on Tyoke Avenue?
I think that it will happen eventually because it's going to be required. It just it may not happen this week. At some point, there will be a monument, and Mr. Casale gave you his business card. So what I would suggest is just stay in contact with him and ask him if he could just let you know when they put the monumentation in. If there ends up being an issue with the survey, it's gonna come out before the project gets a final approval, and then they won't be able to even build one house. So at some point, all of that will be checked, either by the town engineer, DOT is gonna be reviewing the frontage over there that they have where the road comes out. They've gotta provide all that data.
I mean, they did the survey, so they have the results. They know where the line is. They can't put a marker in there this week. That is like something that would be, in other words, I don't want to be chasing this until the leaves start turning colors.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Can I just?
Sure.
Ask Mr. Casali, I don't know if your survey is going to be out there in the near future or any other staff, but would you be willing to put some flagging along that property line? No permanent structures, just flagging maybe every 20 feet or something?
I don't mean to be argumentative, but I don't want to get into a property line dispute. I mean, we will be happy to make the survey available. You want me to stake every 20 feet on this property line?
To his property line, which I don't know how far it extends.
But I mean, shouldn't it
far is
take you
his
like
property?
a half a day?
Ultimately, whether they do or not, they don't have to agree to that. I thought it was cheap and an inexpensive way to
I'm sorry, speak
satisfy
louder,
an
please.
applicant. It's up to them whether they want to decide to do that or not. I threw it out there because it's fairly inexpensive. They have a big project. I didn't think it was a heavy lift to put some ribbon out there. Ultimately, though, it'll become a landowner dispute. It has nothing to do with this board. You know, if you
Well,
if
again,
you
it
don't agree
does-
with their survey, then you would need to retain your own surveyor and get into some type of legal situation.
I know, but at least if I could get an idea of what's going on, I mean, there's no reason to keep me in the dark when the remedy would take 5 minutes, put a marker on Tyoke Avenue.
Well, I think part of the issue is not their obligation to mark their property. You know, if you're concerned about the property line, you equally hold some obligation to that.
I think Mr. Casali indicated that at some point in the near future, I don't know how long, it's not gonna be this week, they will have to stake the corners. And they're gonna have to do that sooner before they start getting the rest of their permits. They're gonna be submitting plans to DEM, spending a whole bunch of money based on what the approval they get or don't get, or whatever direction they start to move in with this. It's not like, all right, they got this approval, so now they're gonna start. So over the course of, this is probably gonna linger on for at least, and I don't wanna guess, but would I be correct, Mr. Crossman? 6 to 9 months minimum before this thing gets final approval by the time we come back? So we're gonna be working on this for the next 9 months. At some time within that time frame, they will stake the corners, and if you would just stay in touch, and then if there's an issue, you can come back at preliminary plan, there'll be another public hearing, there'll be another hearing before the final approval and say you disagree with some of the points. But at that point, if you do disagree with the survey stakes that they've put in, it's gonna be incumbent upon you to demonstrate why they're not in the correct location, because they've hired a professional surveyor to put them in. So,
Okay, but let me just ask you this. If it was your land, wouldn't you at least like to see one marker out there on Tyoke Avenue, at least to give you an idea?
And he indicated he would be doing it.
I mean, for us to put a mark here, there's a bend about 500 feet. 4 marks is one bend. It's a 2,000+ foot property line. Every 20 feet means we're putting in 100.
I understand, and I know.
I didn't ask for every 20 feet.
He indicated he's gonna put them in at the property corners, and do we have any time frame when that would be? 30, 60 days, 90 days? Sometime before and by the way, I don't know why you wouldn't wanna wait till the leaves come off the trees, because you can get a much better shot of that line then than you can right now if he puts it in this week, but I'll leave that up to you guys. I don't wanna belabor the point. He's got your contact information. You've agreed to put the stakes in. So other than the boundary issue,
It just seems so ridiculous that he can't put a flag in there tonight. Okay, that was my first concern. Moving on. I think this is going to be pulling teeth. I'm getting that impression. The next thing I was concerned about was the water flow, because my property is below, you go up Tyoke Hill, which is, fairly steep, and the Bolgan property is above my property, And this spring, my basement flooded for like a month, with the rain. So I'm wondering, when they're gonna be cutting down all of the pine trees on the Boglin land, isn't that water all gonna flow down onto my property? I mean, it sounds to me like I'm gonna have a major water problem, so I wonder how that's gonna be addressed.
Mr. Costello, do you want to address that, or you want to, you can, if you, it's up to you.
No, I mean, so a portion of his property actually flows across our property, which will be intercepting that water. And then, correct, there is this water that flows down. We will tie into both. You'll have both of these detention basins, and by the town law and state law, we cannot discharge an increase in runoff across that property.
So it's your intent to capture everything from the roofs and the roadways and everything you create that currently flows, the current amount, and capture it into those stormwater detention basins for the time being, and then it'll ease out the same direction that it goes now.
Exactly.
And you're required to submit calculations to DEM to substantiate all that before you can get approval from them?
And in essence, 4 professional engineers will sign off on this. Me as the designer of record, your town engineer, the DEM's professional engineer, and ultimately DOT's professional engineers, all collectively will look at this same hydrologic calculations and make sure that there's no increase in runoff.
Well, it sounds good on paper, but like where Asselone put in his development on East Shore Drive, I understand there's a big problem going down to the lake as far as the houses are being impacted down there. And I'm sure those 4 gentlemen that he mentioned all signed off on that, so that doesn't necessarily inspire me with confidence. As far as I'm trying to understand the line of this. I thought they were gonna build houses, they were gonna come out onto East Shore Drive and build houses along East Shore Drive, but I guess that's not the case, right?
The plan shows a new road being built, or a continuation, I guess, of East Shore Drive from Tyoke down to the existing East Shore Drive.
I'm
behind us.
sorry?
It shows, the plan is what the plan is. I don't know how to answer the question. The road goes from Tyoke Avenue that they're gonna install. They've got 2 cul-de-sacs that wraps around and ties into the existing East Shore Drive behind the school. And they're gonna build houses on both sides of their new road and then along 2 cul-de-sacs as it's shown in that plan that's on the screen right now.
Could you just show me where East Shore Drive continues into your development?
So the purple line is East Shore Drive, the school, the existing homes, and then there's a right-of-way to service both of those lots. So we're improving this section of the right-of-way and then extending and creating.
So the part that's on East Shore Drive is a fairly small part. It's not going to the end of your development. Your development is going instead to a cul-de-sac. Is that correct?
No, there's an unimproved portion of East Shore Drive, which he just pointed out on the map, which appears that it maybe goes, a couple hundred feet, and then they're going to extend a new section of East Shore Drive through their property. They're gonna plat a new road, and the town will accept that. And once this, if this is approved in this configuration, and he'll be able to build houses along that road.
Well, so you're losing me there. Right now, there's obviously the paved portion of East Shore Drive, and then it goes into the dirt road portion of East Shore Drive.
Correct.
And comes out on Tiffany Road, which comes out on Tiffany Road. Right?
I can't speak to whether it comes out on Tiffany Road. That hasn't been part of this presentation, not from here. My understanding is a dead-end portion of East Shore Drive, and they're just gonna continue from that dead end, loop it up, and come through their property.
They're gonna move the road from where it is now?
I can't, I'm gonna have them put it on the screen and explain it.
I mean, it's not really clearly marked.
Mr. Chair, I don't see any, on this town GIS, I see a right-of-way ending somewhere around here at this driveway. You know, I don't see any, I mean, looking at this aerial topography, I don't see any road, right-of-way, or anything coming all the way down to Tiffany right here. You know, I don't see it.
The end of the town's East Shore Road, what the town has platted but unimproved, is just beyond the school, the first portion that Mr. Casali pointed out they would be improving.
It looks like the pavement ends right here at this lot 48. And this to me looks like gravel, this is where you enter onto the property that Mr. Casali is discussing here this evening. And this to me looks like
That's a dirt road?
the dirt road.
So are there gonna be houses? Is that dirt road gonna become paved or no?
Yeah, we're gonna go back to their screen, I think, and he can point that out again. I think the first slide really did point that out.
How's that? One more?
There you go.
So the town right-of-way, it only exists right to, about the midpoint of lot 44.
Now, where's Tiffany in that?
Way down. We're down here. Click again, please.
Which way?
Just click.
So, I mean, that's East Shore Drive, so if you follow that path,
This is an existing right-of-way, but it's not the town's, it's not an unimproved, platted right-of-way. So the town's ownership, and that's, he's correct in the 6 months of survey, because we had to go back many, many years to figure out how this was deeded, and where the town's portion ended, and where a right-of-way exists. So if we keep clicking, our proposal, there's the town-owned portion, there is the, just the right-of-way, and our proposal is not to change this, we just wanna replat it. We just wanna take that red line, and now this is going to be a paved roadway, and we're gonna keep those existing, driveways gravel. This right-of-way will remain unchanged. It will, be a right-of-way, as part of this, posse.
And so in other words, that right-of-way is there, it'll continue to be there, you're not gonna touch it. And up at the top, the gray road there's, Mr. Torg, is the area that they're going to improve, which is currently the town's platted road, but it's not really up to town standards. And then they're going to continue it onto their property and through their property and create this subdivision, or at least that's what they're proposing.
And that's the key, that it's town-owned, and we are improving an unimproved platted right-of-way.
so you're not going to kind of finish East Shore Drive to the end of the Baldwin property?
No, we're not, East Shore Drive, will now, that'll still be a portion, it'll still be the town's right-of-way, it'll still be an unimproved platted right-of-way. This will still be a right-of-way